Hi, what's up everyone? Moses here, bringing you another Path of Exile video. This time I decided to start off with the gameplay, talk a little bit about the build as we go along, and then come back to town and finish off whatever we started explaining about the build. So hopefully this will save us some time. Basically, this is a Poet Spin's arc, Ball Lightning. It will destroy everything in its path. The damage is kind of ridiculous. The character is currently level 89. It took me about 5 hours to level it up from 80 to 89, basically, just doing a bunch of tier 16 straight off the bat. Just tier 16, shaped and elder underground sea maps, and also tier 15, belfries shaped that we've been doing with sextants, with all the stuffs, and it's been going on quite well, as you can see. So Poet Spin, if you guys don't know, will trigger a socketed spell when you perform an attack. It can be any attack. In order to proc the spells in the Poet Spins, one of them of course is Ball Lightning, one of them is Arc. We need, I'm using Frenzy. Frenzy will also generate Frenzy charges for us, which is pretty good. They give more spell damage, and they give more damage overall, and they give attack speed bonuses. The Poet Spins itself have a 0.25 second cooldown between procs of spells. So in order for you to not stack infinite attack speed, they put a threshold. So you can only basically get 4 spells per second per Poet Spin. So yeah, look how everything is just shocked. Enemies die. Feels freaking amazeballs, man. So yeah, that's how it will work. You will attack 4 times per second with your Frenzy, and 4 spells, slightly less than 4 times a second, because there is a matter of some things in between. So you can't really have a 0.25 attacks per second, because then you will skip on potential casts, which brings me to my point is currently my Frenzy, if you look, the attack time stands on 0.27 attacks per second, which allows for quick procs of, and you can see it on my spell bar right here, that Ball Lightning and Arc are pretty much constantly refreshing. This is thanks to 0.27 attacks per second, so that's an important thing to note. The way that you want to manage that is by leveling your faster attacks gem that is linked to your Frenzy to a point where it feels to you that you're not like skipping out on Poet Spin's casts. So pay attention to that, because you could potentially lose a whole lot of DPS if you just stack attack speed thinking, hey, I'm just going to attack really fast and then I'm going to proc more spells. That's not really how it works. 0.25, and with frenzies, without frenzies 0.32, with frenzies it's 0.27 attacks per second, which again allows roughly 4 spell casts of each Poet Spin per second. Now, to understand how that works and you saw the build, let's go over the rest of the things here. We got slower projectiles, added lightning, and Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning is also affected by Shaper's Gloves that have linked slower projectile. This is a hybrid role, slower projectile and increased projectile damage. I also picked those up because they have a bunch of life, resists, and yeah, the slower projectile mod for this build. The Arc is linked on the other Poet Spin with increased critical strikes and added lightning damage. 3 link right there. And the Frenzy faster attacks is also linked in a 6 link with cast on crit. So whenever Frenzy will crit, it will then trigger a Glacial Cascade that is linked with Innervate, so that when it kills, it will gain us a Innervate buff that will grant 8 to 145 lightning damage for 4 seconds. This will not happen consistently, but it will happen frequently enough for us to be able to still use it in our build in this 4 link. Innervate 8 to 145 is pretty huge, and Glacial Cascade, and also Frenzy, by the way. Frenzy has 17k. It could occasionally one-shot a monster that is kind of like on low life. It will hit it and will kill it, and then it will proc Innervate. So assuming that the monster is shocked. And of course, our lightning damage will guarantee that pretty much all the time. Everything is shocked all the time, pretty much. So yeah, innovate. Physical to lightning for additional extra lightning damage, as physical as extra lightning damage, as well as increased physical, increased lightning with the quality, and the conversion, which will allow us to scale the Glacial Cascade quite heavily with lightning. You can see right here it's roughly 1.5 to 2.4k cold damage and 3.6 to 8.3k lightning damage, so that's pretty huge. And again, it will only proc on crit. So there it is. In the helmet we have faster casting, arcane surge, and flame dash. This will basically proc whenever linked spell is spending 32 mana or more. So in this case, flame dash spends 39 mana, so whenever we proc it, whenever we use flame dash, we will then gain an arcane surge buff that will give us a 13% more spell damage and cast speed. Cast speed is irrelevant for the build because we don't use cast, like, traditional cast speed. We of course attack and then proc our spells with the Poet's Pens, as explained. When it comes to mana reservation, we got a Herald of Thunder here, and Wrath. When it comes to Wrath itself, we get more spell damage, 21%. Level 21, Wrath will not grant us 22% more spell damage, so don't invest in that. Just get yourself a 21. Just get yourself a 20. The 21 will be beneficial for attack builds that use the 16 to 248 flat lightning damage with attacks. We don't get that. We're not attacking. We're using spells. Yeah, when it comes to the rest of the links, we have Phase Run and Righteous Fire. Val Righteous Fire will be procced. Let's go back to the map. Whenever it's full, it will give us a big more multiplier to our spell damage. It will sacrifice 30% of our HP, but will give us a big more multiplier that will last for, well, 6.5 seconds currently. When the buff expires, you will need to wait a certain amount of seconds and then refresh it by gathering more souls. That's how Val Righteous Fire works. Yeah, with increased duration to increase the effect of both of these spells. Phase Run is of course an instant cast movement speed bonus that will also consume our frenzy charges to extend its duration. The boots, we have some life movement speed here, some strength. The 1 to 160 lightning damage enchant, if you haven't killed recently, is helpful against bosses. And linked are a 4-link powerhouse that I came up with a few months ago, and it's actually just absolutely amazing. It's Orb of Storms generating us power charge on crit. Orb of Storms will proc split beams to 4 extra targets that will then chain to 2 additional nearby enemies to these targets, which means basically when you drop an Orb of Storms, everything will chain and proc, giving us a chance to gain power charge on crit, and giving us a 10% chance to blind enemies on hit. So basically it's proccing very fast, and basically everything will be blinded when this is down very quickly. So extremely useful, amazing layer of defense. Blind halves the monster's chance to hit you. So for example, if a monster have 80% chance to hit you, it will then be cut down to 40% chance to hit you, which means substantial damage reduction overall. Yes, on the belt I crafted with fossils, metallic, prismatic, pristine. Allows us to have this insanity of a Stygian Vice belt with increased lightning damage, almost infinite life and resists, open prefix for movement speed, pretty bonkers, prismatic, metallic, and pristine. I also use metallic and pristine. Metallic and pristine on a 2-socketed resonator to craft this particular jewel with lightning damage to spells, lightning damage while dual wielding, and a tier 1 life roll right here. The rings, we have our coral. I decided to go with coral ring with increased maximum life. I did want to get an Elder's opal ring, but those cost 6 exalts. Decided to give it up, instead get a 5 chaos coral ring that is eye level 80 to be able to hopefully get global crit multi that rolls on a higher tier at level 80. That was the initial thought, but all I wanted here really is a good life roll and Warlord's Mark on hit, which is what I was able to get. When it comes to resistances on this particular slot, don't prioritize it. Just try and get the Warlord's Mark and the life and get resistances someplace else. For this particular build, we are a Scion, so we're getting 18, 18, and 18 to all elements, as well as 10 to all elements, so that's pretty freaking huge. Not to mention, we're using also 12 to all elements over here. So that's 28 and that's 12, which means 40%, 42 all elemental resistances. Pretty freaking huge. So, you know, prioritizing resist on the ring, it's not something I wanted to go for. Just wanted a lot of life and Warlord's Mark, so we could get an Elder Ring with Mark of the Shaper for that insane spell damage if your other ring is an Elder, 10% to max life, flat lightning damage to spells, increased elemental damage, and implicit this ring has it all. And for the amulet, we're using a crit multi, big life roll, strength. I also vowed it, trying to get some additional curse going, but that actually never happened in any of my builds, and I tend to vow my shit when it could be worth it. You know, you can see over here, you can see over here. I tend to never get anything, but items are not being destroyed, so I guess that's an upside. But yeah, the helmet, I don't know if I talked about it, let's mention it real quickly because it's quite crazy. Crafted with fossils, not by me, but someone on PoE, Trade, crafted this. I picked it up for only 1 exalt. This helmet has 105 to maximum life because it rolled a tier 3 life roll, as well as a 3% end flat hybrid life and increased maximum life. It's insane, as well as enemies have -9 to lightning resist, which is bonkers, as well as a tier 1 fire res and an open suffix for strength. This helm is absolutely perfect. So minion deal extra damage, obviously irrelevant for us. I could try and enchant it, don't really feel like doing lab ever, so I'm probably not gonna, but yeah, it is a minion helmet. I guess we can keep it that way. This beautiful of a helmet was only 1 exalt. Flask, we got a staunching, seething right here for instant life recovery, removal of bleeding. Kim is sulfur of heat for increased damage and removal of freezes and chills for the duration of the flask, as well as removal for the duration. We got a warding experimenter's diamond for lucky crits, experimenters of adrenaline for increased duration, movement speed, and Aziri's promised that we have our 15 is extra chaos damage, 15 elemental is extra chaos, as well as 35 to chaos res, which is quite handy. That is it. When it comes to the ascendancies, we picked up Pathfinder because it's absolutely amazing on Scion. Gives us so much utility with the basically infinite flasks. It's going to be very, very helpful with some penetration, with some movement speed. Overall, awesome. And yeah, allows us, of course, to path from the ranger and get all that juicy ranger stuff, as well as Elementalist for the elemental penetration, for the increased effect of shock, for the increased effect of herald. And since I deem golems completely useless, I don't use any golems in any of my builds because yeah, they just die and just take sockets in my gear that I don't really need at all. So yeah, no golems, no nothing. But Elementalist, Raider, Pathfinder are the ascendancies here. When it comes to the jewels, I also crafted Lightning Pen, Effect of Shock, Maximum Life. This does not add anything to our tooltip, but in fact adds a lot of extra damage because we are shocking all the time, and we got that increased effect and the lightning damage penetration as well as some life. Pretty freaking awesome jewel if you ask me. Self-crafted, I did talk about Unnatural Instinct, I believe. Gives us all the adjacent non-allocated small nodes over here. Quite expensive, you don't have to go for it, but you could if you wanted to. Otherwise, we have some crit multi lightning damage, we have some crit multi life increased damage, we have some crit multi lightning damage increased life, Watcher's Eye with lightning damage while affected by wrath. Alternatively, you could pick up the lightning penetration while affected by wrath. Of course, it's more damage, but it's also more expensive. This was 60 chaos. The lightning pen is going to be something like 6 exalts or so. And outside of that, we're just picking up all the life and spell crit and crit multi and whatever spell damage we can get on the tree. This is pretty much it. We also get phase acro, considering into going into phase acro. I believe this is everything there is to say about the build. Bandits, we either kill them all or help Alira. Do whatever you guys want. I decided to help Alira in this case for the extra resistances and the 20 crit multi. My friends, this build is amazing, and within the next few days, or maybe even more, we're gonna super grind this to oblivion. Hopefully we can get pretty high level on this character, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This build is freaking amazing, and you can make it a whole lot cheaper with some, you know, basic, like my character costs about 30 exalts or so altogether. You can make a similar build with similar efficiency, probably less life, probably less damage, but similar in performance and playstyle for about 5 to 6 exalts in my opinion. You can totally pull that off if you want to, which is absolutely affordable and will help you grind all the way to all the content that you want, basically. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to drop by. We're streaming every day, all day pretty much. Just about to start the stream right now. Hope to see you guys there. Much love. Thanks for watching.